Hey everyone. Okay, so this chapter basically dives into Shin's backstory and his connection to Asakura, and there's a lot to dissect here. First, we learn from Jump that Asakura isn't actually Shin's actual father, but more so his adopted one, as Shin's blood father, who's named Ando, pretty much abandoned him right from the jump. Like he ditched him on the lab's doorstep and said goodbye. I'm done. So right out of the gate, we know Ando himself, at least assumingly, kind of a jackass. But and honestly, when considering that just alone, it's amazing Shin ended up as well rounded as he did, or that he even had someone like Asakura to take care of him. Because even though Asakura was like everyone else at the lab, like a little bit of a weirdo, a little, and he wasn't the best parent in a lot of ways. Yeah, and even though Asakura does blame himself for what happened, despite everything that happened, the fact of the matter is, Asakura he still tried his damnedest to raise Shin the best he could, to the point where even though it wasn't his intention to give Shin clairvoyance, he still chose to, in order to shoulder the burden of what happened, because accident or not, he felt he still did ruin Shin's life, and yet on the opposite end of the spectrum, despite being abandoned, Shin kind of was always trying to look on the bright side, helping Asakura in any way he could. He thought he could, despite being still so young. So when Shin's powers first manifested, he took it in stride as Asakura having succeeded. But Asakura himself, he felt guilty. His guilt and Asakura's guilt, combined with the resentment from the other researchers, and just being able to hear the thoughts of all the other researchers of how much they thought he was weird and all that, like combining all these things together, it made Shin feel like he was a failure. So he ended up running away. And the thing with a situation like this, and the way I'm viewing it, is that if Asakura had just in some way acknowledged Shin rather than ignore him, or the fact that or his powers, I don't, or at least ignore them in the way that Shin felt he was ignoring them. I don't think this blow up would have happened in the way it did. And Lou is correct that since then Shin has grown since he left the lab. So I don't think Asakura has to worry as much as to whether Shin still hates him, because he really doesn't. Like Shin has grown. He has matured over the years now, and it's I think I think more than so. Yeah, it really and it's it truly is. It's one thing else that also sticks out to me about this whole thing is that it is interesting how Asakura and, even though not being related by blood, Asakura and Shin were so much alike. Like both Shin and Asakura, both in their own, I think, ways felt felt pretty much guilty for what happened, but and they both and yet they both still tried to be there for each other. So like, it's interesting how they're both kind of on a how growing up, both Shin and Asakura were both kind of on a very similar wavelength as each other, and in a way, them being on that similar brain wavelength, whatever else, growing up, it kind of just caused that fallout in a way. Like, both tried to look at it from the best of intentions, but both ended up having that fallout. Um, of course, in no uncertain terms, Asakura also very much confirmed that, yeah, X's group are likely very much after the formula that gave Shin his clairvoyance. Of course, now that he's broken out with Lou, they've lost a bargaining chip at this point. So now from here, it's just about reuniting with everyone and driving Mr. Reindeer and his goons out of here. And I like how Asakura is legitimately afraid of kind of getting his ass kicked by Lou. Like, for us, seeing Lou kick butt is satisfying, but for him it's like, please don't kill me. And honestly, I can't blame him, because he would not want to even see what Lou is like when drunk. Um, and yeah, outside of that, there's not too much more to talk about, if I'm being honest. Even though we got a lot out of the backstory portion of this chapter, the stuff going on in the present was a little more hit and miss. Like, I get in the sense of focusing on on, since Asakura is the one telling the story, but this is the one time, for me at least, where Lou's overreactions didn't really work in the context of this chapter. Like something just didn't click. Like the comedy this time just didn't click as much as it used to. Luckily, majority of this chapter was the backstory, but the comedy bits with Lou did give me a bit of whiplash. The only scene, the only scene honestly that I really did like with her is when is when for me at least is when she gave that heartfelt speech to Asakura about Shin. It's not, again, it's not that I hate those comedic moments with Lou, because these are part of who she is as a character, but here it felt off. Something just didn't work about it this time around. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, but follow me on Blue Sky, Analyst Crunchyroll, but your notification bell, the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight, signing off. Later, everyone.